This is a funny story. Coming up next, the untamed story of a Southern rock anthem. Born in a farmhouse outside of Macon, Georgia, the artist penned most of it in under an hour, but then he hit a wall with the crucial third verse. Inspiration ceased. He couldn't think of anything. Now, refusing to let the moment slip away, the artist did the unthinkable. So in the dead of night, nowhere is open and his creative fire is blazing, he called on the band's trusty roadie. And together, they actually broke into a recording studio to capture the magic before it faded. Broke a window to get in. Breaking and entering might be a crime, but in this case, it was a necessary step in the fulfillment of destiny. It was part of a journey packed with triumph and heartbreak, and the roadie actually helped them finish the song. They created one of the greatest rock songs ever. Great story coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever camped out at your local ticket office or one of the ticket outlets to get great tickets to a concert, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the bell and notification button so you know when our stuff comes out. And check us out on Patreon, as well as check out Classic Rock Use, my weekly radio show. We'll link to it below. And if you don't have it on the radio in your town, call up and request it. Also get your shirts at 80stees.com below. So our story begins at a rustic $165 a month farmhouse known as Idlewild South, perched on a lake outside Macon, Georgia. And that's where the seeds of Midnight Rider were sown. The house was a sanctuary for the Allman Brothers, a place where Gregg Allman, the principal lyricist for the band, could write freely, often with a joint in hand, far from the watchful eyes of Johnny Law. So inspiration emerged out of nowhere one day, and within a little over an hour, Gregg Allman had a rough draft of what would become a Southern rock classic. Now, before Gregg completed his first draft, he actually hit a wall. Couldn't think of anything. The third verse, what Allman would later describe as the epilogue to the whole thing, it just refused to come out of him. The inspiration stopped. Now, he was really frustrated because he knew he had a great one on the hook, but he was determined to finish it, so he sought help in the stillness of this night. He turned to roadie Kim Payne, who was stationed at the band's warehouse guarding their equipment. Kim was a trusty comrade, but honestly, everybody else was asleep. That's why Kim worked. Kim the roadie was Gregg's only hope here. Like I said, he'd been keeping a solitary watch over the band's warehouse for hours when Gregg wandered in. And at first, it wasn't clear what Gregg wanted. You know, maybe some company, or maybe just someone to listen to what he'd written so far and get a take. But one thing was obvious, Gregg was creatively stuck. The third verse, the all-important linchpin of the song, was eluding him at that moment, and he needed to get it done. So as the wee hours of the night dragged on, the two of them sat there talking and tinkering. Gregg played the same verses over and over and over again, knowing he had something really special, but he was searching for the right words. Now, Kim, who later admitted that they'd been getting high, started to lose his patience. He said, he was starting to irritate me because he kept singing the same lyrics again and again, trying to get it right. And he was getting pissed. He was getting mad. He's like, finally, out of sheer exasperation, Kim blurted out a line, "I've gone past the point of caring. Some old bed I'll soon be sharing." It was a spark that lit the path for the spirit that Gregg needed, and the song headed into the home stretch for completion. Funny, he just threw that out, being sick of the song. So like I mentioned, Gregg was under the influence, so to speak, but he was also feeling the euphoria of writing a song, of finishing this masterpiece he knew he had. He just couldn't contain his excitement to record this new creation. He was so caught up in the rapture, he expressed his gratitude to Kim for the line, promising him a share of the royalties if Midnight Rider ever became a hit. However, since Kim wasn't officially credited as a songwriter, he had to involve Phil Walden, who was the Allman Brothers attorney, the band attorney, to amend the agreement, ensuring he would receive his rightful 5% royalty. And he kept his word. Gregg did it. Gregg wasn't going to let anything stop him, though. The moment the third verse of Midnight Rider clicked into place, he was desperate to capture the song before the inspiration faded. He had to record it. There was only one problem. It was like 2 in the morning, and nobody was awake except him and Kim. Capricorn Sound Studios right next to the band's warehouse was all locked up for the night, and neither of them had a key. Gregg and Kim tried calling for backup. They actually reached out to producer Johnny Sandlin and keyboardist Paul Hornsby, hoping that they could get them to open up the studio for them to record. But both of them shot them down. They told us, "Go to hell, come back in the morning. It's not a big deal." And that wasn't going to work for them. Morning wasn't going to be soon enough. Fueled by a mix of adrenaline and urgency, Allman and Payne decided to take matters into their own hands. Kim actually smashed a window on the studio's front door and reached through the broken glass to unlock it. Once inside, they scrambled to figure out how to operate this equipment, and they fumbled with the console and the microphones, finally got it working. In the quiet of the night, Gregg sat down with his acoustic guitar and laid down a raw, heartfelt demo. It was just him and the song. Just captured in that great moment, Midnight Rider came alive. I've got to run to keep from high. So we had that, but still buzzing with excitement over this song, Gregg Allman wasn't ready to let the momentum slip away because he had other musical ideas. Now, he was unable to track down his bandmates, so he improvised. He turned to his friend Twigs Linden, who had never played the bass before. Gregg asked him to fill in for the rough demo. Linden, eager to help, took on this challenge. Gregg patiently taught him the bass line that he had in mind, and Twigs practiced it repeatedly until he could nail it. So with the bass sorted out, Gregg found drummer Jamo, who added a rhythmic layer to the demo by playing the congas. So bit by bit, the song started to take shape at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Before his time with the Allman Brothers Band, Jamo played in Otis Redding's band. When it came time for the final studio recording, though, Duane Allman stepped in to play acoustic guitar. His seasoned studio experience gave the track a warm, polished sound, adding the perfect finishing touch to a future Southern rock masterpiece. In addition to the lightning-fast writing in Midnight Rider, Gregg was also stunningly fast with his vocal. He recorded his vocal for the original version of Midnight Rider in 1 take, by his lonesome with no band members in the studio. And the only person in the control room when he delivered his vocal was engineer Ron Albert. When Gregg finished his performance, he opened his eyes, he raised his head and turned to Ron, eager for feedback. "How was that?" So Ron glanced to his right, he went to his left, trying to scan, the studio for other audience members. Of course, seeing that he was there alone with Gregg, he was like, big old grin on his face. "That was great, Gregg." So the lead single from the Allman Brothers' sophomore album, Idlewild South, was Revival, Love Is Everywhere. Midnight Rider was chosen as the second single from the album in 1970. Although the original version of Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers didn't chart, it was a charted hit as a remake for several other artists and as a reimagining by Gregg Allman for his debut solo record. Oh, let 'em catch the midnight rider. So in November of '72, the late British rock singer Joe Cocker, known for his distinctive interpretations of contemporary songs, he released his own version on the album Joe Cocker. Backed by the Chris Stainton Band, the single climbed to number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Willie Nelson's cover from the Electric Horseman motion picture soundtrack went to number 6 on the Billboard Country Chart in 1980. The Allman Brothers Band reached a pivotal moment in 1971 with the release of their live album at Fillmore East. It was both a commercial and artistic triumph, cementing their place in rock history. Tragically, the same year, highly regarded Duane Allman lost his life in a motorcycle accident, leaving the band reeling. Despite the devastating loss, they pushed forward, creating Eat a Peach in 1972, a hybrid live and studio album that soared even higher, earning gold certification and climbing to number 4 on Billboard's top 200 pop albums chart. Now, for Gregg Allman, the loss of his brother that was deeply personal and life-altering. He was really struggling to cope and found himself in a state of melancholy that, according to band historian John Linsky, sparked a yearning to explore something new musically. That drive motivated Gregg to step out from the band and venture out on his own to create a solo record that he called Laid Back. So to kick off his solo project, Gregg Allman turned to his friend Deering Howe, a familiar face from the Allman Brothers' visits to New York. Howe was an heir to the international harvester fortune, and he moved in elite circles, rubbing elbows with rock icons like Jimi Hendrix and Mick Jagger. His financial freedom and connections made him a key ally for Allman, who was eager to escape what he called the BS with Capricorn in Macon. Howe agreed to fund Gregg's efforts to record demos, and the pair started in Miami's Criteria Studios in May of 1972, laying down 3 or 4 tracks. Then a couple months later, they shifted to Advantage Street Studios in New York to continue the work. However, the sessions proved really challenging. Allman's heavy drinking took a toll, and according to Howe, the process was far from smooth. Now, despite these hurdles, though, these early recordings marked the first steps in Allman's journey towards a solo career. Gregg Allman compared the creation of Laid Back to having a mistress, something he was passionate about, but that stirred tension within the Allman Brothers band. The project slowed progress on their own album, straining relationships within the group, particularly between Allman and guitarist Dickie Betts, the late Dickie Betts. Despite the friction, several band members lent their talents to the solo effort. J-Mo, he added congas, while Chuck Leavell, the brothers' newest addition, contributed his piano expertise. Leavell, who had stayed in Macon after parting ways with Dr. John's band, found himself juggling work on both projects. Allman praised Chuck's intuitive playing, though, saying he'd give you exactly what you wanted without question, and if he embellished on a song, he made it even better. The Laid Back LP opened with a haunting rendition of Midnight Rider. Now, for this new version, Gregg envisioned a swamp-like atmosphere, rich with imagery of moss-draped trees, lurking alligators, thick fog darkness, even witches. He said, "I wanted it to feel like stepping into another world." To capture this eerie vibe, Allman and Scott Boyer crafted a creeping acoustic guitar intro, setting the stage for the track's moody, otherworldly tone. Tommy Talton, he performed the slide guitar parts to add a bayou authenticity that Gregg had envisioned. Gregg Allman reimagined Midnight Rider as the lead single for his solo album Laid Back. This new version featured a striking transformation, swapping the original's harmony vocals for a solo performance and then adding rich horn arrangements that were conceived and conducted by Ed Freeman. The fresh take resonated with listeners. It went to number 19 on the Billboard Hot 100 in early 1974. Now, one of the standout qualities of Midnight Rider that has solidified its enduring appeal is its versatility. It's a song that thrives on stylistic interpretation. Think about it, artists like Alison Krauss and Union Station have taken significant liberties with the key, the tempo, even the arrangement, yet they've managed to preserve the song's essence and its intent. The song's adaptability has attracted a wide range of performers, from bluegrass icons like Krauss and Eddie Adcock to punk pioneer Patti Smith and Canadian rockers Theory of a Dead Man. Willie Nelson has recorded the song, like I said, 3 times, though, adding his signature touch with each version. Even Bon Jovi has paid homage, incorporating a shortened version of the song into live performances, kind of as a lead-in to Wanted Dead or Alive, weaving together themes of life on the run, albeit on a motorcycle. Catch the Midnight Rider. Gregg Allman's solo rendition of Midnight Rider set the tone for the opening scenes of the 2004 remake of Walking Tall. In 2013, Geico featured Midnight Rider in a commercial promoting their motorcycle insurance. The ad was titled Money Man, and it depicted a motorcyclist made entirely of money cruising down the road to the iconic tune. Now, while the Allman Brothers are beloved within the biker community, some fans found the ad to be in poor taste, given the tragic motorcycle accidents that claimed the lives of both Dwayne Allman and Barry Oakley. In 2016, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings delivered a soulful, funky take on the song for a Lincoln Motor Company commercial. And then a year later, Lady of Lunch and Cypress Grove reimagined it for their album Under the Covers. Country superstar Morgan Wallen has paid homage to Gregg and the Allman Brothers as well, including the Midnight Rider lyric, and I got one more silver dollar in his tune, Everything I Love. That one climbed to number 3 on the Billboard Country chart in 2023.
We were listening to one more silver dollar.
Now, Gregg found great success in the 80s with his solo career, and he dabbled in acting during the 90s, but his progress was severely hindered by a long battle with alcohol addiction. Actually, the turning point came when his drinking prevented him from attending the Allman Brothers induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So determined to change, Gregg made the decision to quit, and he ultimately overcame his addiction, reclaiming his health and his career. But Gregg Allman died from liver cancer in 2017, 6 months shy of his 70th birthday.
Bring you back some gold. I'm no angel.
Gregg is often remembered not only for his groundbreaking music, but also for his struggles with personal demons and his brief high-profile 1970s marriage to Cher. Yet behind the motorcycle gypsy mystique was a deeply complex artist with a unique sense of style and place. His friends called him a quiet, shy Southern gentleman who didn't go out much in his later years, except an occasional trip to Walmart, or Sam's Club, or the local gas station to buy a lottery ticket. Around 15 years ago, Gregg had a custom river house built near Savannah, Georgia that reflected his personality in every detail. His manager would say it was so Gregg, noting how each room was painted a different color. The backyard was shaded by majestic live oaks. It was a fitting backdrop for the cover photo of his final album, Southern Blood, which was shot there.
I live the life I love, and I love the life I live.
Gregg and his brother Dwayne didn't initially have a strong inclination toward music, actually. But 2 key influences sparked Gregg's passion. One was a concert that they attended in Nashville in 1960, and the other was a neighbor with a mental disability who taught him how to play guitar. In one of his final interviews, Gregg Allman was introspective, saying, "Music is my life's blood. I love music. I love playing good music, and I love sharing it with people who truly appreciate it." Looking ahead to the end, he said, "When it's all said and done, I'll go to my grave and my brother will be there to greet me saying, 'Nice work, little brother. You did it all right.' I've said it a million times, but if I died today, I've had me a blast." Gregg Allman's journey was long, it was challenging, and often filled with heartbreak. For from the moment he began delivering newspapers to save up for his first guitar, he faced it all with unwavering conviction. As he expressed in Midnight Rider, one of his best songs, a song that he stated was one that he was most proud of, he embodied the spirit of resilience. "I've got to run to keep from hiding, and I'm bound to keep on riding. And I got one more silver dollar, but I'm not going to let him catch me. No, not going to let him catch the Midnight Rider." I mean, despite every obstacle, Gregg kept writing, never allowing anything to hold him back. And that's why he's one of the greats. And that's why Midnight Rider is one of the greatest songs of all time. Man, what a song. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Midnight Rider. It's just such a feel-good song. You hear it, you know exactly what it is. What are your memories of the song? What do you think about the Allman Brothers Band? And breaking into the studio, I love that. That's one of my favorite stories. Let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We would love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.